Hi there. Now we are at the point where I want to say something about some more reading that you will be doing later in this unit. It is reading that is still helping you to understand what philosophy is concerned with, and it has to do with what you just read. As you just saw, I introduced you to 4 branches of philosophy. Lawhead is also going to introduce you to those branches, and he has a really cool way of doing that. He will be covering, as I did, logic, metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. And I really like his approach. So for logic, he's going to start off with, like what it is the psychologist is interested in, and then tell you, that might compare to logic, but here's how logic is different from psychology. With metaphysics, he's going to latch on to the discipline of physics and saying, here's how metaphysics might be like physics. But here's what makes the study of reality, or the focus of metaphysics, different from physics. With epistemology, he is going to be saying, here's what the epistemologist might have in common with the historian, and yet here's how epistemology is somewhat different. And then he's also going to introduce you to a few more branches that will not be the focus of our class this semester. So he will be introducing you to the philosophy of religion, political philosophy, and those are 2, like I said, we don't get into. We also will not be focusing on ethics. I did introduce you to that one, but we're not going to be really focusing on that one. But interestingly enough, he links, he talks about anthropology and makes a comparison between ethics and anthropology, and says, but here's what makes, ethics as a branch of philosophy, and hence the discipline of philosophy, different from the discipline of anthropology. With political philosophy, as you may guess, he's going to make a comparison to the study of government, and yet point out how the philosophical study of government is different from just government as a discipline. That is, political philosophy is different from the discipline of government. And then with philosophy of religion, he's going to connect the philosopher's interest in religion to what it is that the astronomer is interested in, what it is the meteorologist is interested in, what it is the sociologist even is interested in. So very interesting approach. Now, I've just mentioned a bunch of disciplines, sociology, meteorology, astronomy, history, psychology. And some people are like, well, isn't philosophy just studying everything that everybody else studies? And while it is, while there is some comparison and some links, there are philosophical assumptions undergirding every single discipline, the disciplines that I've just mentioned that Lawhead will be linking the study of philosophy to. And so, some people are like, well, maybe philosophy is just repeating things, but as you're going to see through Lawhead's introduction, is that the kinds of questions that those disciplines that I've mentioned, the kinds of questions that they asked, are quite different from the kinds of questions that a philosopher will ask. So there might be some overlap, but the kinds of questions that are asked are going to be very different when it comes to philosophy. One thing that I like that Lawhead says in his introduction to the branches and the questions of philosophy, in response to the objection that philosophy makes it seem as though it covers the same territory that other disciplines do, is that he says philosophy is, let me get his quote right here because I really like the way he says it. He says, it seems as though philosophy covers the same territory as the other disciplines do, but the answer to this objection is that philosophy is unique in comparison to other areas of study. And so what you have to focus on is not it. What makes philosophy interesting and unique is not that it studies different things, but it studies the same things as the other disciplines differently. So again, I really like his introduction to the branches and questions of philosophy. I gave you my initial introduction so that you could have something before we focus on intellectual virtue, that is the character traits of good thinkers and learners, and before we focus on argument. I just wanted to give you an initial sense of what this course is about, and after we do the stuff on intellectual virtue and argument, then we're going to get back to defining and trying to understand philosophy as a discipline through our reading with Lawhead via the Learn Smart task in our Smart book.